Salute, salute, Knicks Nation. Breaking news, live stream, late night. CT going to be joined by EJ in a minute with the live chat right now as I'm in shock. Just absorbing the news right now, and it's been broke by Shams. A huge trade that Leon Rose has pulled off right on the eve of the season. Let's unpack it together, man. Absolutely shocked that this has gone down. Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo will be headed to Minnesota. Karl Anthony Towns is headed to the New York Knicks, right? CT live. Let's break it down, guys. Salute. How we feeling? Dirty Dancers in the building with Kenny Payne. And I'm in shock, guys. And obviously, you know, we've been talking about it all off season, but the contract situation of Julius Randle, I think, was going to come to a head one way or the other. And today the penny dropped, right? What do you guys think of this move? Prezi in the building as well. EJ is going to be joining us in a minute. Let's unpack it, guys, as well. Haven't had a chance to even look at the particulars outside of the biggest move, which is Julius Randle, Donte DiVincenzo, and a first-round pick, as reported by Shams. And Karl Anthony Towns headed to the New York Knicks. Stefan Bondi saying a league source on the Knicks' attraction to Karl Towns says he's only 28 on a long-term contract set up for sustained success. Complements the core of Brunson, OG, and Bridges, right? That's a source, according to Stefan Bondi. Ian Begley saying Knicks Pro League sources in touch with the team felt they had a great opportunity to address their biggest need at center in trading for a 4-time All-Star, 2-time All-NBA player in Cat. They see Cat 28 as a great fit with the other high-end talent and someone and giving them a strong opportunity for sustained success, right? What do you guys think about it? Let's get your thoughts. I'm in shock still. JT says this is crazy. Kenny Payne says it can't be true. Fam, it is true, right? Shams reporting, Fred Katz, Ian Begley, all of our trusted sources, fam. This is no rumor. This is official, right? The NBA app has even given me a notification, fam, as well. It's a crazy weekend for me at this time. Leon Rose could have chose any time to pull off a move like this, but Jake Fisher says the Knicks were canvassing the league this week in search of a center and improvements on that position, right? Obviously, that's central to how this is going down. And obviously, guys, it's all about the contract situation of Julius as well. Luke C says the Don isn't playing. He got his center, and now we are all in, right? Truer words have never been spoken. I mean, we are all in right now. I mean, firstly, you know, a lot's going to be said. You know, Karl Anthony Towns is a New York Knick now, and he's going to get my full support. However, you know, how this trade is looked on, right, it's cataclysmic right now in terms of the size of this move. And EJ's just joined us backstage. I'll bring him in a minute. And right now, EJ live with us on the streets of Buzzin'. Fam, I'm reacting to this news and I'm in shock. You know, what are your thoughts on what's been reported?
Welcome everyone who's a Knicks buzzer. My boy CT. It's been a minute since I've had a chance to chop it up with you guys. I'm in utter shock. As you guys can see, I was even dressed for the occasion. Saw the trade go down, and I immediately texted my boy CT, and CT said, "All right, I'll throw up the bat signal. Let's get on this." It's hard to comprehend right now the totality of this deal. I don't know if we know the exact parameters of all of the aspects of this deal. From what we're hearing so far, it's Julius Randle, Donte DiVincenzo, and a first-round draft pick, I believe, from Detroit. The Detroit draft pick. It's a lot to digest. I mean, all I can say right now, and I'm not the kind of person to say I told you so, is I do think in one of my last appearances on the show, I did say that I did believe that this would be Julius Randle's last season with the New York Knicks, and I did not expect it to occur in this fashion. This is shocking in so many ways, so many ways, so many ways, so many ways. What are your thoughts, CT? Don't forget to unmute, bro.
and in terms of the quality that they bring to the team with Julius, Donte. I'm shocked that Donte
Yeah,
DiVincenzo would
that's
even be
shocking.
included in a trade. Obviously, with Julius contractually, we know, and and look, trades are done in so many different lights. This isn't the New York Knicks or Leon Rose saying that to me that Julius Randle can't help this team win. It was always going to come down to contracts. I
Yeah.
feel, and giving Julius Randle that huge deal or a bigger extension, right? There was a big decision to be made, and I think he's chosen this course, right? Really fascinated to see how this looks now. Um, you mentioned, the timing. This could have gone down weeks ago when we had time
Yeah.
to break down the season and all of that. I mean, media day. Oh my God, that's on Monday.
Yeah.
So yeah, EJ, I'm thinking maybe contract negotiations weren't going maybe smoothly for one side or the other, and maybe both sides, came to this, and Julius was open to maybe playing on the Timberwolves. I know there's such a great relationship. Like, am I off base here? What do you think between Leon Rose and Randall's camp? Maybe floating this with him first, or
Yeah.
do you think this was just all about Cat?
I think that there are a couple of things as we kind of start to digest the reality of what this is. This trade, the it hasn't been confirmed yet. Definitely that this has gone through. Not that I've been made aware, but from all signs point to this being the general framework of a deal. Um, there are several aspects of this deal that we have to remember. First off, it's been Leon Rose's habit and tendency that when there's a deal he wants to make, he examines it for several months, if not several years. Cat is a name we've been hearing for several years now at this point. We've been talking about. I mean, much the same way we spent like a year talking about OG Ananobi, and he was circling around, and we heard that kind of in the atmosphere for about a year. The same thing happens with Cat, and we also knew that Minnesota's financial books needed some sort of clearing because of this new salary cap, the new salary cap restrictions, particularly that second apron. We knew that Minnesota had some really difficult decisions to make, even off the backs of their really wonderful season last season. Um, Last but not least, I remember joining this show. I think now this is my third or fourth season where we've been doing this, and we had a show where we talked about how the roster that we came into, it must have been like 3 years ago, that at some point contracts will start to be consolidated because you get to this window where you have to make a decision and say, is this a championship level team? And this is where really we start to see very difficult, very controversial, very um, decisive decisions have to be made. And it's one of the reasons why I had a feeling that Julius wasn't going to be on the Knicks the entire year, but never, never would I have imagined that it would be this kind of deal at this point in the season. Season hasn't even begun yet. But I will throw in one more thing, and then I'll throw the floor back to you. Maybe one of the things that we may have missed or needed to consider is that Julius's market value fluctuates a lot. There are some points where he's all NBA, and you're like, okay, what we can get for him in return value is astronomical. And then he has some stretches, and he's had some stretches historically where his value depresses. So perhaps this was a moment where all of the various factors came together, and Leon just said, "Okay, this is the moment."
Yeah, this is the moment, man, and I'm going to bring some stuff on screen now, EJ, and the chat's rocking with us. Salute to everyone. Smash that like button. This is a franchise altering move, and we're breaking it down live minutes after the trade. And we've got the two um, guys that's going to give you the right, the right reactions to this. And Brooke Rose, obviously daughter of Leon. Welcome to welcome Geordie to NYC finally. So I mean, family connections, right? And you got to give credit to the people that spoke on how warm this was, EJ. Obviously CP, Knicks Fan TV, was one of the major ones most recently, but throwback to Mark Berman, who frequented our show, friend of the show, was very close to the situation. He was always talking about if Towns was available, Leon wants him. A lot of people clown various people. They're just two of the biggest, sort of people attached to the Knicks, and they were correct. Now,
Yep.
the deal's
Yep.
done. It's
Yeah.
as Steve Popper's confirming. League sources confirm the deal is done.
Yep.
So, yeah,
Yep.
family connections, I think, played a big part in this, EJ, as well as basketball fit. But also, I just put in the chat, Mitch's health. That could have
Yeah.
been just like, look, we have to get a center, and this is maybe tying a bow, on what needed to be done.
Again, like part of what's going to make this very difficult is that, when we look at it just statistically, a lot of us are going to really feel this is a really difficult trade to accept. The timing of it, this is a trade that happens at the end of the week. It happens before media day. It's shocking. It's jarring. A lot of us were on the high of, getting Mikal Bridges, feeling this sense of, we are at the precipice of being championship contenders. And then all of a sudden, like you imagine Julius Randle being your number four, and we did the whole exercise with Bill Daughtry, what are our lineups going to be, throughout the course of the season. And what's really shocking for a lot of us as Knicks fans is we didn't expect this to transpire. At the same time, one of the things that we have to remember, particularly with this new salary cap structure, is there's a lot of math that's happening. Several teams talked about how difficult it was for them this offseason to make moves. We saw Golden State, for example, seemingly for the first time in over a decade struggle to acclimate itself in terms of improving its roster. Um, this is going to be a difficult. This is a difficult deal, because like Julius is probably the first piece to really usher in this new wave of this new Knicks resurgence. So for many of us, this is an emotional issue. For many of us, this is a question of fit. But Cat was the person we've been hearing about for over a year, well over a year. So while this is surprising, in some respect, it isn't surprising. And Mitch's injury, it kind of expedited this issue. The center market had dried up. All of a sudden, you have your number five.
Yeah, and on that note, John Schmelk, of the New York Giants, friend of the show, Nick season ticket holder. We're getting some look at some people starting fives now. You're looking at a Brunson, Hart or Bridges, a switch over, two of the three, Ananobi at the four, and Carl Anthony Towns. Now, what are your initial impressions looking at that projected starting lineup, and would you alter that?
Um, no, because I think that one of the things that the Knicks are doing is with this move, like as we try to like come down from the emotions of this deal, is they kind of understood that this question of, well, this is always going to be Jalen Brunson's team. And I think what this deal is emblematic of is moving away from any idea that this was going to be Julius Randle's team. And there were at times questions about the overall fit of a Julius Randle with a Jalen Brunson. Not to say that they didn't have that solid stretch in January of 2024, but overall, over the course of 82 games, what was it going to look like? What you have with Cat is a more natural pick and pop, pick and roll um, kind of relationship that can develop. It's a more natural pairing for a ball dominant point guard. I think with Mikal Bridges, I think Mikal Bridges was something that needed to happen if you were going to trade away Donte DiVincenzo. Donte DiVincenzo gave you a natural scoring two. He gave a lot of heart, and that was a pun intended. But this is also a roster that's shown itself to have a lot more flexibility. So yeah, you now have a very clear one in Jalen Brunson. If you have a very clear five, and you have options two through four. And that's ideal in today's NBA.
Yeah, and we mentioned Cat's up and down career, EJ. I don't know if you caught much of Minnesota in the playoffs, guys, and um, we'll talk about that a bit. And you salute to the chat. You know, I love your raw reactions, and you know, it's tough to absorb such a magnitude, such a trade of this magnitude in such a short period of time. And there's going to be days of reacting and a ripple effect with media day to start next week. But guys, yeah, I did catch a little bit of Minnesota. Cat had an amazing game and then he was up and down, 50-point performance. The 3-point shooting, that's what he's bringing. And yet, chat, this is legit. Carl Anthony Towns now is a New York Knick. We're going to have plenty of time to thank the departing Knicks like we always do. I mean, they're like family to me, Donte, Julius, the first round pick. Hopefully, no other pieces moving. I mean, this is big enough for me to take right now, EJ. But yeah, did you see much of Cat in the playoffs? And what do you make of his ability? Well, the fact that he was coming in with big playoff experience. Minnesota made a deep playoff run, so he is going to bring some playoff experience to the Knicks.
He's going to bring some playoff experience to the Knicks, and let's not even beat around the bush. There's some major implications for what this means for Mitch, because Cat makes what 55 million, and how much does Mitch make?
He makes
So
about, well, yeah, he makes 10, and then it's going to 12, and then it's going to decline, I think, or 14, and then 12. Sorry.
So we have some. So you know, uh, I forget which one of our esteemed guests said this. There's but so much money you're going to allocate to your front court, in particular, to start your center position. I think that's a conversation for the future because this is quite a jarring moment we're having right now, where a lot of us are still processing and still trying to make sense of what just transpired. Because I don't know if you need to pay $12 million to backup center, because at this point, Cat is your starting center. Um, the other part of it that's really important is we saw how menacing a Joel Embiid could be, and in particular, how difficult it could be to guard a Kristaps Porzingis. Kristaps Porzingis, what made him really difficult for the Knicks last year, and particularly when we had Mitch guarding him, is that Mitch is not someone who was comfortable guarding out on the perimeter. He's a stellar defender, but we saw like how the extent to which a Kristaps Porzingis, when he's shooting from the top of the key, it creates problems. Well, the antidote to a Kristaps Porzingis, the antidote to a Joel Embiid, is well, you bring in someone who actually operates at the top of the key as well. You bring in someone who can stretch the floor as well as a five. Now, this is not necessarily saying that I agree with this move, but in terms of trying to understand and articulate why the front office may have made this move, is that now you've kind of gone 180 degrees from where we were 3 years ago. 3 years ago, we had R.J. Barrett, we had Julius Randle, we had Mitch, and we were spent so much of we spent 3 seasons ago talking about how much they clogged the lane. They clogged the lane. They're left-handed. They clog the lane. They don't offer that much perimeter shooting. Now, that lane is going to be wide open. And so I think the other thing too that we might want to consider is that this might also be a slight or maybe a major revolution in terms of what the offense is going to look like. I think that's something else for us to consider.
Yeah, man, big time. And I'm just refreshing because we're getting some particulars. So Charlotte's going to be the third team. Um, so I'm just checking in to see if there's any other pieces coming or going.
Yeah, I'm checking as well.
Yep. So yeah, Shams is bringing it up here. So the Knicks ascending salary, including DaQuan Jeffries and draft
Okay.
compensation to Charlotte. Okay. Um, so that does appear that it's just Knicks ascending salary, including DaQuan Jeffries draft compensation. So no real loss if it's just DaQuan Jeffries.
Yeah,
Um, we'll see. It might be. I mean, it can't be a guy that was just signed this off season anyway. It can't be
yeah,
a Cameron Payne um, of that um, type of contract. But yeah, man, I think the shooting, the 5 out look, this is something that a lot of fans have been wanting us to play with for a long time now, and they're going to get to see
yeah.
that. We're going to get to see it. Um, are you sold on Towns as a Tibbs kind of five, or do you feel like if Mitch is healthy or they do make another move, or with Precious, maybe Towns alongside Precious gives you that option to say Precious five on defense, Towns five on offense. Uh, what do you think
Yeah.
about that? Maybe.
I think we're going to see, or we're going to have to see, we're either going to see, or we're going to have to see a level of creativity that we've not necessarily seen or we've not necessarily believed it possible from Top Thibodeau. Um, Cat is a Cat offers some similarities to Julius Randle, but they're not the same player. Offensively, like the philosophy of a Cat versus a Julius Randle is not the same. We have a slight amount of tape in terms of how Julius Randle played with Jalen Brunson. I do believe this fundamentally changes Tom Thibodeau's approach. Do I think that Cat is the guy? I don't know. I don't know. I mean, because if you were to ask me 4 years ago, was Julius Randle the guy? Yeah, I didn't believe it. I didn't believe it. If you asked me 3 years ago, when after the thumbs down, I didn't know if he was made for New York. But something seemed to spark once Jalen Brunson came here, and we were talking real championship contender. We were talking about the Knicks possibly being the number 2 or number 3 team in the Eastern Conference just a couple of weeks ago. At the same time,
Yep.
I don't know if Cat playing in New York, because that's the other part of it too, is playing in New York City, and we talk about this all the time with all the professional teams here in New York City. There's a different level of pressure that exists. Not every player is made for a city that has two of every team. Not every player is made to deal with the scrutiny of 1,500 different podcasts on all of our favorite team. And so I think that's another question. And I don't know if that appears on any stats. I don't know if this appears on any statistics. It doesn't appear on the back of anyone's basketball card. Do you actually have the mental wherewithal to play in New York City? Julius grew into that. Cat remains to be seen.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of spotlight and pressure, but just got to, as I put in the chat, EJ and guys, the Knicks had to send out more salary than they took back. So anyone that's thinking like, oh, Donte is an overpay, that salary was needed to bring in a cat salary. You know what I mean? They don't want to give up Donte in a deal like that, but for salary purposes, yeah, it had to happen, I guess. And look, I think when the Knicks did swing that big Mikal Bridges trade, I kind of felt like that wasn't the finished roster. Maybe someone was going to have to leave eventually. But yeah, obviously we get another All Star. So it's bittersweet to lose Donte and Randle. Two beloved Knicks and guys that contributed to this team in so many ways. But there's still a lot to look forward to with Karl Anthony Towns and his game coming in because yeah, we're going to be a completely different looking team. Obviously, we didn't
Yep.
have Randle, but I think OG's versatility, EJ, the playoffs, him guarding a bit of Embiid, him guarding some bigs as well, I think opens the door for him to start at the four as well, but also guard the bigs if Towns is, struggling a little as well. So OG's versatility together with Bridges, I think they're so switchable.
Yeah. Let me throw this out to UCT, and I'll throw this out to the chat. I haven't had a chance to really read the chat. I see a couple of you guys are very upset, and I'm a little bit under the weather, so that's why you see me drinking my tea here. Um, if Dante were not included in the trade, and we all know that for salary cap purposes, he had to be involved in the trade or a contract similar to it. and I haven't even gone to the contracts yet to see if they were a similar contract to Dante's. But if Donte were not included in the trade, would we be reacting so negatively? And I'm just asking.
No, I mean
Feel free to throw
it's
that into the chat, guys. Feel free to answer that in the chat.
it's a great question, man. I mean, the other day Julius was just, you know, he was honored at the event. We got so close to basically training camp and media day that I was basically dead set that this was going to be the roster,
Yeah,
EJ. But obviously, yeah, Leon Rose, he has a impeccable timing in terms of when he does things when you least expect it. The Toronto one had me gobsmacked
oh yeah,
for OG.
oh yeah.
This is just this is basically bigger than the Mello trade in my opinion. Not players wise, but just the magnitude of the trade. What do you think
Yeah.
in comparing the two?
I think. Well, I also think that where we are relative to a championship pursuit um, is closer than what we were in 2010. Listen, I remember 2010 very well. I remember what it was like in 2011 when we got Mello. I remember all of the excitement. I remember the hype video. By the way, that hasn't aged well because we can't play that song anymore because of who the artist was with that song. Go figure. Um, but it's a bigger deal now because Jalen Brunson, not necessarily saying that Jalen Brunson is a better player than Carmelo Anthony, but in terms of his role and how he's been positioned within the body of the organization, you have a player who's being built around as opposed to Carmelo Anthony, who was traded for. And then we spent the rest of his Knick career trying to scrap, put together and cobble together a team around him. This is a team that's being built specifically around Jalen Brunson. When Carmelo was traded in February of 2011, it was a trade that was supposed to complement Amari, but then it became a trade that was supposed to replace Amari, and we never quite made the right deals. Let's also think about it this way. We got Jalen, then we traded for OG, then we traded for Mikal, then we traded for Cat. That's a lot of big moves by the Knicks in less than a year and a half. So this one hurts, but at the same time, does getting a center alleviate multiple problems that keeping Julius would not necessarily solve? And I do think a part of this is, I think a lot of us don't want to admit this, but the Dante piece of it hurts a lot.
I'm definitely feeling I'm reeling from that.
Yeah,
I honestly just felt like we had a team that could go to the finals, and obviously Randall's health was a concern, but we don't know how much. But obviously the connections with Kat was just so close. His
yeah,
father, put this up on the screen, guys. His father took a coaching job in central New Jersey this summer at Kat's alma mater. And Kat Sr. is also so close to William Wesley. So there's just so many voices and things. And also, as John's reporting from the Timberwolves beat, is that Cat did not request a trade. He did not request
no,
this at all. He's never requested a trade from Minny. And apparently, according to sources, he's still absorbing this. He's he's coming to terms with this trade as well. Look, it's a
yeah.
homecoming for Cat as well. We can't ignore that. But I mean, it's a cruel way to ask, but grade the trade guys early. I mean, my mind is still blown. I don't know how I could give this a grade in
Yeah, I
terms
can't grade.
of it's it's an F for losing Donte and Randle, and it could be an A for getting Cat if we get it done. So it's like for me, the grade, if I give the trade a grade now, it could change. It could change by early season, mid season, end of the season.
No,
It'll
no.
change, but so I'm just going to go right down the middle and just say that right now this is a C plus. It's a
No.
neutral, maybe a step back. Um, how are you feeling, honestly?
I don't know how to grade it. Because part of it too is, I always try to be a voice of reason, and sometimes in this business we don't like that, but The other part of it too, where we don't know, is Julius was returning from injury, and by all accounts, it's the kind of injury where if Julius bumps into the wrong guy again, that shoulder can there could be some issues again. And again, I'm not a doctor, but this is by all accounts, some of the stuff we've been reading. So was Julius going to be Julius immediately at the start of the season? Who knows? And the other part of this too is that, this isn't a fair or accurate representation of how to measure the Knicks, because the Mikal Bridges trade was a huge trade. So even though, we want to run it back, we're not running back the same squad. We're running back the same squad with an additional major piece that also can grow throughout the course of the next couple of years. So it's kind of hard for me to say, Cat for Julius and Donte what it is, because the Mikal Bridges piece plus an OG for the entire season is not exactly the same squad that started this time last year in 2023. So I don't know how to grade this. I don't know how to grade it. You have a Julius who's coming off of injury, coming off of surgery, and we know that Julius has, like, he started off a little bit slow last year because he was also again coming off of previous injuries. We have OG and Mikhail who are going to be who are part of the roster from day one, starting in training camp. It's hard to say what this team is. It's really hard, and so it's hard to grade the trade. And I know that many of us want to just say F, F, F. Some of us want to give it a Q. If we can give it a Q, if we can give
We
it a
got it.
3,
I love the chat. We got E pluses. We got
B plus.
we got Fs. We got could be a first round exit. It could be we go all the way. Um,
Yeah,
yeah, I've seen a lot of great questions, guys. Who plays the four? I think it's OG to begin with, but
yeah,
you need a backup center. So I think you're probably going to start with Towns, and if it's getting punished, then you'll bring Precious off the bench. But if you start Precious together with Towns, then you've got nothing to go. You've got nothing to counter with. With Mitchie's injury. So I think Towns will start at the five. I'm pretty sure of that now. And I think maybe OG, and then you can bring Hart your bench. I think Mook Morris will make the roster now. I think
yeah,
Landry Shamet will make it. I think we might even stack up some more veterans.
yeah. I
But
definitely think a
look, I'm
better
not worried
move.
about. Yeah, are you worried about the depth at all? Losing Devo? I'm not worried about our depth. I'm worried about losing the quality of Devo. But we've got a lot of different bodies. EJ, you know.
I agree with you. I think emotionally, the Dante piece emotionally hurts. The same way when we traded IQ, emotionally that hurt. And I think this is part of like where like I'm not made to be a basketball executive, because there's a lot of like emotional attachment to certain players. Listen, Devo played with so much heart last off season. That shot that he hit, and to have like the gumption to take a shot after missing a shot, he's forever like ingrained into Knicks culture, into Knicks history. And so for many of us, that I think that's part of the emotion that's feeding into the trade. And I dare you guys, if we remove Devo from the trade and just said it's Julius Cat straight up, a lot of us would not be reacting this way. If we're very honest, we may not be happy with the trade, but some of us who are saying it's an F or an F minus or an N, you'd be saying, "Oh, I'll give it a C. I'll give it a B minus." I think it's the emotional part with the Devo. But then again, look at the postseason that Deuce McBride had. So is Devo a replaceable piece in an 8 to 9 man rotation?
Man, yeah, great way to look at it. Guys, I think the center situation got we're kind of close to getting hard capped, and so he was looking at options for marginal centers. I'm talking about Nick Richards. I think Walker Kessler might not even be a needle mover, and he's probably thinking,
Yeah,
look, if I can get Cat, which is an all-star player, that solves other things. He gives the scoring that Randle gives, but he can also play the five, and we have other bodies that can play the four. So it kind of addresses a few problems. Mitch is injured. You can't trade an injured player to the max value. So then suddenly you're kind of stuck, guys, trading Mitch's 12 million because he's injured now. So it was really Julius or no one to really make a huge upgrade because we weren't really working with many other assets, EJ. So it's kind of making more sense to me now. Obviously, on the basketball court, we got to see how it all plays out. But from a business and contractual standpoint, it's making a lot more sense for me now. It's just such a tough way to look at it, like you said, losing Devo, man, and
Yeah.
Randle. Obviously, I was looking forward to seeing him back healthy, but he's going to get a great opportunity. I mean, it ain't like these guys are going to a bad team, EJ. They're going to be going to a title contender as well, right? How
Yeah.
how tough is it going to be, guys, seeing DiVincenzo and Randle in a Timberwolves jersey
Yeah.
competing?
And you know what? I think part of the reason why this also might be a tough trade for many of us to accept or process is because we're used to, especially as Knicks fans, right? We're used to trades where the Knicks get robbed, they get fleeced, right? So think Andrea Bargnani. Think some like the Eddie Curry trade. Think about these trades where the Knicks tend up. Think about the Carmelo deal. Like as much as Carmelo was a good Knick, you know, you end up with Jamal Murray in Denver as part of that trade, right? Sometimes certain deals, both teams might actually benefit from it, and there isn't a decisive winner. You might actually have a trade where both sides got what they needed. So, for example, one of the things that Minnesota needed is they actually needed a natural four, more of a natural four, and they get that with the Julius Randle. It's a pairing that makes more sense in terms of having a Julius Randle with a Rudy Gobert than a Cat with a Rudy Gobert. Like for as much as they were successful last year, one of the things if you watched any of their playoff games last season, that would have made more sense if they had a natural four. Plus, with Nas Reed, these teams are making and this is going to be the issue that a lot of teams are going to face in the next couple of off seasons, is that as contracts escalate, some of these contracts, like you can't have three centers on your roster and be paying how much Minnesota was paying with regards to their how much they apportioned their salary. So that's the reason why and guys, we even said it on the show. We said it on this show. At some point, Minnesota's going to have to make a decision because they had too much in salary locked into the center position. And again, we're in the middle of this. We don't know what the team is going to look like. I don't believe there are any other major moves happening, but perhaps there is a veteran four. I think it's easier to find a veteran four than it is to find a veteran five, a serviceable veteran five on the
Yeah,
market.
I think absolutely that's what this comes down to. I think you hate to lose Devo, but you move Randall to make an upgrade at center, and then you feel like replacing a power forward is a lot easier right now in terms of we have more on the roster. Mook Morris, we have Precious, we have OG, we have other guys as well. But yeah, man, I'm gonna keep going and get the reaction of the chat as well. Let me know if you need to duck. But we're gonna shout out some more people in the chat, and I'm just gonna let everyone know that we're reacting live to this as well on X. Um, in terms of Tom Thibodeau, the return, the reunion of these two, that puts to bed any sort of thought that Tibbs wasn't open to coaching Cat once again, fam.
Yeah, yeah, yeah. I mean, I think in the last couple of years, we've seen sort of the evolution of Tom Thibodeau. When I first started this show, we spent I think a season and a half with Berman almost every other week discussing whether or not Tom Thibodeau was going to make it during the entire season, if he was going to get fired. We talked about front office dissension. We begged the question, and actually, I think this show was the show that led to several other shows, and I think even ESPN exploring the question of where's the dissension between the front office and the head coach, where they lockstep together. And since last season, since the acquisition of Jalen Brunson, Tom Thibodeau and those questions have been put to bed. I think the major thing now that has to be put to bed there are two things that have to be put to bed. Number one is the question with regards to like him running his players to the ground. I think that's something that, Josh Hart has spoken about, that it's a myth. It's not necessarily grounded in reality. That's going to be the big thing this season, is dispelling those rumors and actually like showing, okay, the Tom Thibodeau method is actually a winnable method. The second thing that he's starting to like demonstrate is that his players love to play for him. And, one of the things that we heard a few years ago, especially when Cat and the Knicks were starting to be linked together, was this idea of there's no way Cat would want to play for Tom Thibodeau. He's that coach that no one wants to play for. I think that started to be dispelled. It started to be dispelled. This league is really about player relationships and front office relationships. There are certain teams where, guys like JJ Redick is coaching the Lakers. Is it really about sometimes the head coach, or is it about the organizational culture? So I do think the Cat trade, if those of you guys in the chat who are talking about, Cat being injury prone, that's going to be an issue. That's going to be something he's going to have to make sure that working with the Knicks athletic trainers and like dealing with nutritionists and dietitians, that's going to be something. He has something to prove, because unlike Minnesota, again, I listen to ESPN radio. Some of you guys might listen to WFAN. CT and I do this show. There are like 7,432. And I love making up new numbers for every time I talk about the podcast. So I'm just going to keep on making up random numbers. But there's 7,432 Knicks podcasts. And thank you for choosing this one. That are going to cover Cat. And like I'm sure there are thousands of people who troll his social media pages. He's going to have something to prove. He's going to have something to prove. He's back home. So this is a make or break moment in his career.
Absolutely make or break for many. I mean, Leon Rose, I'm keeping an open mind on this, as I put in the chat. But yeah, I understand every reaction I'm seeing in the chat, guys, from the Knicks streets. You guys are diehards, and obviously, we all wear our Knicks pride, and we're ready for a huge season. And now this bombshell is just shaking things up. Some people still feel like it was a bad move. Towns are soft. Some people are loving it. I'm excited for the season regardless. I think we're such a deep team. It just, yeah, sometimes the business does get in the way of the actual team construction, guys. Had Julius been under contract for 3 more years, 2 more years even, that may have changed. Leon may have just said, all right, let's just see how things look. So that's just an idea of sometimes a trade isn't just forced down, unnecessarily. It's the business side that gets in the way, and like I said, if Julius had 3 more years on his contract, they might not have swung this trade, you know. So we got some confirmation, a story that Bondi put out. Towns and Tibbs have squashed their beef as well. Friend of the show, Chris Herring, says this is such a high stakes deal for a
Yeah.
pair of top 10 teams. Absolutely. I mean, a deal of this magnitude so close to the season. I mean, I'm just still getting over the timing of it all. Like I said, if this had dropped a few days after that big rumor surfaced, wouldn't have been as surprised. I just thought that was put to bed right now. But yeah, the chosen one, Donald, salute, not a fan. Donald's not a fan. The chosen one says everyone is injury prone. Relax, no one is exempt from injuries. Luke C, really high on the move. Appreciate you. 54 wins, top 3 in the East still. So you don't feel like we've really, lost a step at all. 718 Fresh ain't a fan of the deal. I do think Kendrick Perkins does like the deal from what I saw. David says we're going to have to choose between Deuce and Devo at some point.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Between Mikel, Deuce, Devo, Tyler Kolek, campaign. And this has been actually the Knicks' dilemma the last 2 years, where like we have these wing players that we have to make tough decisions on. And like this is something that, CT and I spoke about 2 years ago we talked about how at some point some of these contracts are going to get folded, and some of these players, it's going to hurt. It's going to hurt when we trade it. Like, guys, IQ still hurts. When I play 2K and I have a moment and I'm trying to like decompress after a long day of work and it's been miserable and I'm playing 2K, I still have IQ on my team. And it still hurts a little bit every time I see him and I'm like, oh, he's not a Nick anymore. But that's the nature of being a fan, is that sometimes your favorite player or player that's beloved gets traded. Guys, I grew up, John Starks got traded to Golden State. It broke my heart. It broke my heart. But that's the nature of this
Yeah.
business. And look at him now. He's a Nick. He is a Nick, even though he went to Golden State. He's a Nick.
Yeah, and just like that, Randle started this kind of resurgence for the organization.
Mhm.
It didn't work out for Melo and Stat. That kind of broke my heart as well. This one, while we're obviously on the right path, I don't feel like I'm more upset of the trade in terms of, I hate to see the guys we lose, right? I'm
Yep.
still keeping an open mind about Cat, I think the deal could still help the Knicks win because he brings something different, and I just got to see it. But yeah, John says trust Ian. The Knicks see him as a center. Um, so Ian says the Knicks, per league sources, had a great opportunity to address their biggest need at the center. So we're going to get
Yeah.
to see it, guys. You guys said in the chat pick and pop as well. Paula says it broke my heart too. I couldn't watch the Knicks for a while too. Um, Yeah, Howard, 78-year-old Nick fan. We've got a 68-year-old Nick fan in the building as well in the
Wow.
chat. Donald, too. Salute, guys. You've seen championships, right?
Yeah.
Um, Donald's not a fan of the move, but I mean, I'm keeping an open mind because Cat has talent. Like,
Yeah. Yeah.
we've added some talent. But any other final thoughts on this? And what are you looking forward to? I guess for preseason now and training camp.
Well, I mean, my final thought is this is shocking because typically we do like our preseason our preseason analysis, and I was thinking about like what I was going to say and like thoughts, and I was just starting to like come around to it, and this is not what I expected whatsoever. But it makes sense. It hurts, but it makes sense. And I'm going to say this again. Like I think a lot of us, myself included, maybe I should just speak for myself. So I'm speaking for myself, EJ Blanchard. That the Donte portion of this hurts more than Julius. Um, I think the Donte portion of it hurts because a lot of us love the mythology of the Nova Knicks, and now one of the Nova Knicks is not here, and it's like, wait, that's not how this was supposed to play out this season. And that Nova Nick was really cool. He had swag about him, and he really enjoyed. He seemed to enjoy his stay here in New York. But this is also the nature of the business. Like this is, and I talked about this a couple of years ago, and I said that a lot tonight. But the nature of the league is this. Listen, um, Philly made some really aggressive moves this offseason. Um, getting Paul George, picking up a couple of other pieces this offseason. They were really aggressive. And I'm not necessarily saying I agree with this move, but we are definitely now in definitive championship mode contendership. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to go to the championship. It doesn't necessarily mean that we're going to win a championship. But what Leon has definitively said, he's placed his flag down and said, we are now a championship contending team, and we expect to be one of the last 4 or 6 teams left. I'll even say 8, but he plans on being one of the last 6 or 8 teams left when we get to May of 2025. So this is what happens when you get to this point. You have to just hope this was the right deal. And I will say, like, the definitive last point: was there another center that was a more attractive commodity than a cat, one that's available.
Yeah, it was always going to be tough getting. I mean,
Yeah,
Cat's better than Valanciunas,
yeah,
as a player. I'm talking about. He's better
yeah.
than Walker Kessler. He's better. Yeah, that's you never get that as an argument from me.
Uh,
What are your, I guess, last thoughts on the news we got the other day that Mitch won't be healthy to start the season? I mean, there was no surprise to me, but I think
I wasn't
that
surprised
could
to
have
me.
been that could have been a final straw where it's just like, look, we just can't depend on you, man, moving forward, and he's on the hook for another 2 more years. So that could have pushed this along further than anyone will ever admit.
Well, I think that's why I said earlier, like, I think that Mitch might be a subsequent move at some point because he's been a great, he's been a, I shouldn't say great, he's been a serviceable Nick, good kid, but at the same time, like, his lack of offensive development, him being injury prone, we had questions. We had questions as to whether or not he was truly a starting center. All of us had accepted the idea that Hartenstein was going to be the starting center, and we were praying, we were hoping, we were crossing our fingers, crossing our toes, crossing our arms, hoping that he resigned with the Knicks. And when he went to Oklahoma City, many of us realized that we have this huge gaping hole. That huge gaping hole was, in some way, shape, or form, commentary on what we thought of Mitchell Robinson. If Mitchell Robinson had developed, if he were less injury prone, we would look at Hartenstein and say it would have been great to have two serviceable centers, but we at least have Mitchell Robinson. A lot of us already kind of felt like, we don't know. Is he going to be available? So I do think that at some point, the organization will cut bait and say there's no financial reasons to keep a player who is injury prone, who spent huge chunks of last season on the injured list, who's going to spend a huge portion of this season on the injured list when you can get a serviceable backup for, you know, 40%, 50% of his contract.
Yeah, yeah, will be fascinating to see. Mitch is not going to be out for the season, but
Yeah.
we'll wait to see if he can get back December or January on that one. Um, but yeah, it's a very emotional occurrence tonight. Breaking it down with EJ, appreciate you, and I'm getting ready for next week. I'm excited to see some Knicks basketball. It's just this is going to take. I'm lucky it's the day for me. It's 12 p.m. It's 2 p.m. So I'm going to be thinking about this for the rest of the day. Many Knicks fans might be up all night. Um, but yeah, man. But yeah, it's been great seeing you, man, and
Yeah, man.
getting ready for another season ahead.
Yeah. Listen, shout out to everyone. CT, my boy. Hopefully you guys get a chance to see a little bit more of me this season. I will have a chance to share with you guys what happened last season. I always feel like I have to share this. Like, no, there's no beef. There's like, no one was fired. No one was like, no backstage drama. This is the drama-less show. But there were some things that happened on a more personal side that that's why some of you guys don't know me who are on the chat. Hi, my name is EJ. Usually the co-host of Knicks Buzz. Sorry, I don't know why I just said Knicks fan. Knicks Buzz. And this is home. This is family. So we're buzzing, and it was great to be here with you guys, and can't wait for the start of this season. Please do us a favor. By the way, I always do this. This is like the thing I do. Please make sure to like, subscribe, and share Knicks Buzz with everyone you know that is a Knicks fan, that's a basketball fan. YouTube has very funny algorithms where if you don't click subscribe, we can have like this amazing conversation. We can have amazing guests, and you will miss it. Like one of the things that's really separates Knicks Buzz from a lot of other podcasts is that CT puts in the legwork, and we get amazing, amazing guests. For example, I can't tell you the honor it is to speak to Bill Daughtry. Bill Daughtry is someone I grew up listening to, and to like be face to face with the man electronically and to have conversations with him backstage. It's amazing. Mark Berman famously of the New York Post, like to like talk to him periodically, and so like it's amazing how much access this show gives us in terms of speaking to the people who are the newsmakers and the headline writers behind the scenes. So please, please, please Share this with someone you love who's a Knicks fan. Like, subscribe, follow, share. Make sure that the algorithm knows Knicks Buzz. Hit us up on socials, please. Mine is EJ underscore Blanchard. And just thank you guys so much. And CT, it was a blast seeing you, my friend.
Yeah. Amen, brother. Amen. We'll see you soon. And we'll talk soon, fam. I'm gonna
Take care, buddy.
get to a few questions in the chat, but yeah, we'll talk soon, man. Peace.
Yeah, man. Take care, buddy.
You too, man. Be well.
Man.
EJ, ladies and gentlemen, as we get through some comments in the chat, guys, I've been reading everything you've been saying, as well as I'm trying to scroll and update you all with the latest news. And this is a franchise-altering move tonight. I'm a 30-plus year Knick fan, and I know from the get-go that this is a franchise-altering move. When I see one, right? It's bittersweet because you always got to give up something to get. But yeah, from a basketball standpoint, it can make some sense. But yeah, I hate to lose a Devo, and I think Julius Randle could have won with this team as well. But Leon Rose has seen this vision. I've trusted the front office and what they've been doing, the success and the improvements were made every season over the last few seasons now. But this is unequivocally Leon Rose is all in, right? There's, it's championship now or bust. Guys, that's how I'm viewing it, right? The Chosen One says, I'm good, Knicks for life. Howard says we're going to be playing a 9-man rotation this year, too. Don't discount Precious. Yep, and don't discount Deuce. I've seen them. Yep, I've seen that. And I think what they can bring, they're definitely going to get their minutes this season. So yeah, P, I see you in the chat. Yeah, as I spoke on earlier, the Knicks had to include Donte for salary purposes, right? Because the Knicks had to send out more salary than they take back. So that was the catch all along. They can't acquire Cat's 50 million and only be sending out Julius's 20-something. They had to send out more salary than they were taking back. So unfortunately, he's collateral. I think that's just the best way to look at it. I've said it before in the past, on the Knicks' next championship team, there might not have been everyone there. There was going to be some collateral. RJ was already quickly. Ultimately, yeah, Leon Rose's, success and his role is here, on this kind of move, right? The OG one wasn't kind of all in. I don't think that the Bridges one, because that was basically just a minor trade for Bogdanovic and picks, and you can recover from that. But this kind of move now, with where the cap is, guys, you can't just undo a trade like this. Cat's money is significant. It's 50-something plus, and we'll get the cap breakdown from Bobby Marks and everything. But Cat's salary is 50-something plus. So moving forward, I think it's basically win now. It's win now. So it's 49 million this season, then it goes to 53, and then 57. Right. So Cat's under contract for several more years now. This is the roster. Moving forward, Michael Drake, welcome in. Seeing everyone's reaction. Thank you for the super chats as well. Luke C, great question last stream about Derrick Rose. Salute to the legend D Rose on his retirement. What a career it's been for him. I'll always look at him now as a Knick great. He's a guy who definitely helped us succeed. The second phase of his career was amazing with the Knicks, but the MVP level D Rose is like a point guard that we may never see again. The athleticism was absolutely insane. For those that didn't get to witness it live, I mean, think about a guy like Anthony Edwards' athleticism, but in a point guard's body. And that was what D Rose was in his prime right now. But yeah, look, I see the concerns about Cat's durability as well. And I think he's going to have to prove some naysayers wrong. He's going to have to prove some doubters wrong. So it looks like Charlotte is going to be a part of the trade. They're going to absorb DaQuan Jeffries' salary. And And the New York Knicks are sending out a first round draft pick as well. I mean, above all the things as well, that doesn't sit really well right now. To lose Julius, Donte, and a first, it's a lot of depth. Now, all I'm saying is right now is Cat better live up to the billing, you know, because we lost two really good pieces that can help, that can really play. So yeah, Alan Hahn says, don't be surprised. We've been watching this for months, says Alan Hahn. So he's been talking about it, as well as obviously CP mentioned it and Mark Berman on our show a year ago. Also, the trade brought the Knicks much needed size and elite stretch five, scoring versatility, says Alan Hahn, as well. So there is some people talking about Donte DiVincenzo maybe not being as happy, as actually happy than in New York as people think. I'm going to take that with a pinch of salt, right? But so Christian of the New York Daily News, I'm going to bring up, this is basically our depth chart right now. And I know Buzzer Beater was asking me as well. Shout out to Buzzer. But what do you guys think about our depth chart? Now, you got Brunson, Bridges, looks like Josh Hart. You know, Hart, Devo was going to be the sixth man of the year. I feel so confident about that. But now Hart was our best player off the bench. He probably comes into the starting lineup now. Bridges stays at the 2. Hart brings you that extra rebounding as well. And Anunoby's your power forward, I think, to start on opening night. And then you got Towns. And then off the bench now, guys, you got Payne with Kolek duking it out. You got McBride and Shamet. You could play some backup too. Mook Morris, Akiki, Dadier, Achua, Bates-Diop. Bates-Diop might end up sticking now that we've made a 2-for-1. Also, guys, one of the underrated storylines heading into camp was that the Knicks had to make a cut. Now they don't actually need to make a cut because we traded 2-for-1. So it was going to come down to Shamet or Mook Morris or Keita Bates-Diop. You know, one of them was going to get cut. But now it looks like Keita Bates-Diop could stay for power forward depth. It looks like Mook Morris and Landry Shamet can all stay. So like I said before, I'm not worried about our depth so much. I'm more trying to absorb the shake-up that this is. 19 Conman says we need Nick Richards from Charlotte in this deal. We might be adding more depth. I think Mitchell Robinson's injury is definitely a concern as well. 718 Fresh, you've made your points very clear. You're not a fan of the deal. Huck Porty. Huck Porty should be he's on the 2-way together with the Jake Toppin and also the Kevin McCullough as well. It was drafted with the 56 pick as well. So those guys are on the 2-way. They don't actually take up an official roster spot as well. But I think Huck Porty is going to be a guy that should, I think, get an opportunity, I think, this season. I think he's ready for some minutes, for some spot minutes. Michael says, Cat got to come hard, CT. Mook definitely Shamet deep, says CT. The Chosen One says, what would it take to add Clint Capella? Tough salary-wise, but I think you could probably move Mitch for salary purposes to get that. But I think Mitch being injured now makes that tricky. And you'd probably have to include Deuce McBride's salary now as well in that deal. It's going to be tough to get to the salary. I think Clint Capella's on 17 milli, fam. So I'll just check that now. But I think with this Cat move, I think it rules out a Capella. But yeah, basically, I think the salary is pretty high for a Clint Capella. So that's going to make things a little tricky to make that any move possible. I think a smaller move like a Walker Kessler salary, Nick Richards is more likely because you can figure out the salaries for that. But yeah, Cat's on 17, Capella's on 17 mil. So that is going to be tough to do. Big Dave says losing Donte hurts, man. Definitely. I feel like he embodied what it means to be a New York Knick, and he had so much success. And I feel like he was going to be a big part of our championship team, right? But now signing Landry Shamet, you see, sometimes Leon is letting you know things that might be in the pipe before they actually drop. Now signing Landry Shamet and Mook Morris makes a lot more sense because he kind of knew that he might be losing Julius and he might be losing Donte. So signing Mook and Shamet, everyone was kind of surprised at those moves, but now things make a lot more sense, guys. Um, yeah, losing Julius is going to hurt for me right now too because Julius played hard. He played tough. I wanted to see him back healthy and help him, bring his game to this new look team. But talk about a new look team, guys. It's like a brand new look all over again. Here, Macau's not going to leave, fam. But yeah, I think this is maybe the last of any major shake-up. But look, Donte's a professional, but don't discount the fact that he lost the starting role and he now knows that he's not going to get as many minutes. And he probably felt coming off the best season of his career, it didn't make sense to get demoted. I know he's trying to win a championship with us, but maybe Donte's not all that upset with getting an opportunity with Minnesota now, right? It's a business, guys, and I think some players look at it different ways. They obviously enjoy being a New York Knick, but if they can leave and get a bigger role, still compete, they might be really open to that. I'm just scrolling and seeing the reactions from everyone and trying to figure out, make sense of this all. But, I mean, there's a lot of rumors going around that maybe Donte wasn't as happy. I don't see that to be true. But yeah, he was an absolutely amazing player for us, stretching the floor, breaking the franchise shooting record. He deserves all the success wherever he goes. So does Julius Randle, man. They have a fan for life in me. But it's important to note, guys, the fact that the returning Knicks will be coming to the building on October 13, right, with the Minnesota Timberwolves, right, the preseason game. I can't believe I didn't realize that yet that the New York Knicks will be playing Minnesota now in the preseason. Man, unbelievable. Can't make up that storyline, fam. Look at this, October 13, right? Karl Anthony Towns will be on the Knicks and Julius and Donte will be on Minnesota when this matchup happens, man. 3 p.m. Circle your calendars on that one. Johnny, what's up? Says Knicks saw that they can't win without Randle. I think it was a lot of stuff to do with business. What's up, Coach? Yeah, I don't think it has anything to do with DiVincenzo, with Macau leaving. I don't think it has anything to do with that. I think Macau's going to be staying. But yeah, it's just, fans are heated right now, I understand. I think I was looking at the center options, and I don't think Walker Kessler, overpaying for him made it much sense, for giving up a deuce. So that was tough for Leon. Then you look at Nick Richards, signing him. Did that really make a difference? Is he that much better than Precious? And then you look at who else was out there. Clint Capella, for salary reasons. We couldn't get that done. Mitch went down. So Leon was kind of backed into a corner. And I think he's been obviously eyeing this move for a while. Because, again, he signed Shamet, who plays Donte's position conveniently. And we signed Mook Morris, who plays Randle's position conveniently. So Leon Rose was kind of, he was making plans, for a while. But man, that Minnesota game is going to be absolutely wild now. And I'm going to have to refresh 2K all over again now Karl Anthony Towns is going to be the New York Knicks starting five, man. He's 28 years old. He's earning a lot of money, but he can shoot like any other big shooting man in the league. He can knock it down from deep. So the floor spacing is going to be real, guys. Howard says CT 53 games. Mitchell Robinson. I'm expecting 55. I'm still expecting 55 wins. I think our depth is still pretty solid. Is there anything that you guys would like to see us change right now after this trade? So is there anyone that we'd like to see us add? There is Markel Fultz still available as a free agent, fam. There might be some guys get cut after the training rosters are finalized. You know, we got Lonnie Walker. He's a shooting guard that can fill it up. If he gets cut by Boston, I would definitely pounce on him now. Now that we've lost our sixth man, losing DiVincenzo really hurts our bench scoring. But looks like Miles McBride is probably going to be playing the two off the bench, and Payne and Kolek will be battling it out for some minutes, fam. McBride, Shamet obviously is there as well, but I would sign Lonnie Walker if he does get cut. And then, we've got Achura and Keita Bates-Diop that are going to be getting back to their original positions now. Precious Achua is going to be back to his bench position now with Karl Towns, our starting five. Paula says he's one of the best bigs I've seen that can shoot from the outside. Yeah, I think that's going to give us a different look, definitely, in the way the floor is spaced. And we'll be bringing the stats next episode. We'll go through the shot charts. We'll break down all the media day quotes as well. But after we've had a couple of hours to absorb this, I'll be back tomorrow. Absolutely, another live stream tomorrow to get the latest reaction. As people are going to be waking up to this news, man. A lot of people haven't really caught on to the news yet. I know this trade's broken a little bit late on the East Coast as well. In Australia, Howard, absolutely. It's daytime for me, so I'm going to be up all day, making sense of this trade. But I do think that we do need Precious Achua as a depth piece, so I think that signing still made sense to me. $6 million. But it's only a 1-year deal, and I think it's a trade chip at the trade deadline because it is an expiring salary. Look, I'm glad we're keeping Deuce McBride. I'm a big Deuce fan. I believe his ceiling is huge. I think Deuce McBride, at his age, the way that he's climbed the ranks, I think we could expect to see another leap from Miles McBride. Maybe that could help stomach the loss of Donte DiVincenzo. I know it's tough to absorb, but I really believe that Miles McBride has more to show, and I think if he continues the shooting, he's going to be an absolutely huge piece for us. Obviously, if Brunson ever misses any games, he fills in as better as anyone can fill in for a Brunson, right, at the point guard spot, shooting, the scoring ability there as well. I look forward to another year of Miles McBride, his growth, fam. And obviously Payne is going to see some minutes now. Kolek might see some spot minutes. And then, Dadier, Okeke's probably not going to make the roster, but I think Dadier will, obviously, is guaranteed money. He'll be in Westchester getting plenty of reps. And then, look, Mitch out till at least mid-December, January. A lot of talk over, how long will he be out? Now, we don't really need to rush him back as much with Precious as the backup now. Towns the starter. So it could be a game-changing acquisition getting Mitch healthy throughout the season. Paula says just about every Knicks podcast is live right now. I wouldn't expect any other way. We've really got the streets buzzing, legit here. And however way you feel about it, we are about this trade. We are buzzing. There's no doubt about it. We're the biggest fan base, the best team, the most loyal supporters, and we're going to rock out this season no matter what. The Garden's going to be rocking. Hart comes into the starting lineup now. I mean, we're all in, guys. We're absolutely all in as well. 007 Angelo, great to see you. Mind blowing, and we absolutely pulled off this trade. We got Karl Anthony Towns, given up DiVincenzo, Randle, and a first round protected pick from Detroit as well. This rules out getting Jalen Duren from Detroit now that Detroit's pick is going back to Minnesota. I want that championship, Michael. This season the window is open. I feel like with Brunson at the MVP level, and also the return of OG, the bringing in Mikal Bridges, now bringing in Karl Anthony Towns. I mean, we can play many different ways. And I really like the underrated pickup of Mook Morris. I still think he's got some game left. He could be that Bogdanovich kind of role. I think McBride assumes the DiVincenzo kind of role, as the shooter. Anunoby and Towns are going to basically be bringing the Randle and the Hartenstein production. Hart basically started for us for most of last season anyway. So, I mean, he's not going to be any stranger to danger. And obviously, Mikal Bridges is the big upgrade, I think, in the starting lineup to me. One of the best two-way players in the game, right? So there's a lot of different ways we can play. Defensive lineups, floor spacing, and a pure 5-out look, right? This is a proper 5-out look in terms of Hart can even space the floor out a little bit in the corner as well, right? Yeah, we'll be getting some guests on throughout training camp and before the actual season begins. Man, I'm pumped for the season, the chosen one. I think this front office will be, the legacy is on the line for this move. But yeah, it was brewing because the contract situation, I think, of Julius Randle, he was either going to get extended by October or he was going to be he was going to be in trade rumors because of the contract. The longer it got, he could leave as a free agent. Don't forget. So yeah, a lot of people might say that Randle showed loyalty to the Knicks. The Knicks haven't shown the same loyalty back. I think in the business world, you got to look out for yourself first, I think. Yes, loyalty should be important. But obviously, if you let Julius Randle hit free agency, then you can really set your franchise back. Hartenstein ended up leaving in free agency as well. So, yeah, if you decided for whatever reason that you couldn't extend Randle in his contract, you can't run the risk of letting him, leave for nothing. So I think it was always going to become a case of Randle getting signed or getting traded as well. That's just the way I'm looking at it from a business point of view. And yeah, as a player and a significance of what they mean to the team, right? I mean, no one can take that away from us. Randle will go down and have some amazing moments, as a New York Knick. All I could do is just wish him and DiVincenzo nothing but success. Hopefully just not against us, I think, in terms of injury, 19, what happens if an injury to the starting five? We don't have the same backups. I think there's time to make some adjustments. I think Precious can get traded still, but let me know what kind of position you're more worried about. We had to address the five because Precious as the long-term starting five wasn't a great look. Now we've got Towns. If OG gets injured, you've got Mook Morris and you've got Achua and you've got Keita Bates-Diop. If Hart gets injured, you've got Landry Shamet still. You've got Okeke. And you've got McCullough and Dadier as well. If they show that they're ready. If Bridges gets injured, Deuce McBride, I think, or Shamit could start at the 2. And then I'm looking at Lonnie Walker. I would love to see us pick him up if he gets cut. And then at the point guard spot, we've got a couple more options than we had last season. So I don't think we're as bad as some people feel. But obviously any injury is going to suck, and it's going to be tough to stomach if it's a long-term injury. But right now, Mitch is injured. We had to do something at the 5 spot. So Leon Rose has done it. He's pulled off the big trade. And this has been our reaction, right? I found out like literally 15, 20 minutes before the live stream. Unpacked it with you all, guys. It's late Friday night, Knicks. Leon Rose has shaken up the NBA. Not just the Knicks buzz streets, but the NBA. And what a season it's going to be. Next week is going to be absolutely buzzing with training camp starting. The Knicks will be in Charleston, South Carolina, and preseason kicks off October 6th against Charlotte. By the way, they're in the trade as well, getting DaQuan Jeffries as well, but to absorb some salary. But the New York Knicks, Minnesota, that matchup is going to be spicy, to say the least, right? It's going to take a bit of time to fully absorb this deal, right? I still can't believe it, but it's reality, guys. This is our new reality. Welcome to the New York Knicks, Karl Anthony Towns. All the best, Julius Randle and Donte DiVincenzo, right? Once a Knick, always a Knick, right? And once again, wish those guys well. But Karl Anthony Towns, man, it's over to you now, right? Show that you want to be a New York Knick and that you can get us to the promised land, right? We need to go all the way this season, guys. We've got guys in our prime, and injuries can happen. Anything can happen. So we need to win. We need to win sooner than later. Let's see, it all kicks off right next week. I can't wait, fam. Smash that like button. The Knicks streets are buzzing. And I will see you tomorrow again. I'll go on a little earlier, 8 p.m. tomorrow for another live stream as we get more thoughts to this big trade. Everyone just waking up to this news, right? Let us know your thoughts, grade the trade. But have a great night, everyone. Salute Knicks Nation. Orange and blue skies. Let's go.